40inbox.com here. So the Binance CEO says he's willing to step down as the world's biggest crypto exchange welcomes regulation. So let's get into this because this is probably going to get a little bit spicy. So the boss of cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, says he's willing to step down from his role as the company seeks to become a regulated financial institution. So speaking at a virtual press conference Tuesday, Changpeng CZ Zhao said he had no immediate plans to quit his role, but that the company does have a succession plan in place. So we're going to pivot to be a fully regulated financial institution going forward, Zhao told reporters, adding that during that pivot, he would be very open to finding a replacement CEO with more regulatory experience. So Binance is the world's largest digital currency exchange by trading volume. However, it has come under intense regulatory scrutiny lately as authorities around the world seek to clamp down on the fast-growing crypto industry. Man, that's bad. So in the UK, the Financial Conduct Authority banned Binance's British unit from undertaking any regulated activity. So Binance was one of many crypto firms that withdrew their applications to the UK's temporary licensing regime due to failing to meet anti-money laundering requirements, the FCA said. And regulators in Japan, Canada, and Italy have also clamped down on the firm, warning it is not authorized to operate in the countries. So planning for the future, Binance aims to set up a number of regional headquarters around the world and will seek licenses wherever they are available, as Zhao said. He has previously said Binance has no official headquarters. So Zhao insisted there were no immediate plans for his succession, adding Binance was keeping our options open. I'll be honored to continue to run Binance as a regulated financial institution until we find somebody who may do a better job, he said. And in May, Bloomberg reported that Binance was facing a federal investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice and Internal Revenue Service. And Binance said it couldn't comment specifically on any ongoing discussions with regulators, whether in the U.S. or elsewhere. And on Monday, the company said it was reducing the maximum leverage or borrowed funds users can use to trade futures contracts amid concerns such high-risk bets were leaving clients with hefty losses. And earlier this month, Binance said it would no longer offer stock tokens, digital versions of shares like Tesla, Apple, and Coinbase to shift its commercial focus to other products. And German regulators had warned the instruments may have violated securities laws. Now, this year has been a wild one for crypto, and Bitcoin went to 65, now down, and then back up to 40 right now. So either way, it's pretty interesting when you think about it. But here's the thing, right? This isn't that big of a deal. It's only a big deal if you start to think about, okay, where are they actually going to be finally operating at, right? So if they end up basically moving their whole operation, their main office into the United States, and basically do like something with like a hand-on-hand with like a CIA, FBI kind of stuff, the IRS, right? So that they could basically regulate it to the point where they could track everyone that's operating on their platform. One, I think it would actually be good for Binance as a company, but bad for anyone who ends up actually using their platform, right? So like long term, it would basically be like Amazon working with the government, right? So if they end up working with the United States government and allow access from the US government, that's going to help Binance out, but really screw over all of their users. So who knows what's actually going to end up happening, but that is probably going to be the most likely scenario. If they want to like have a lot of transactions and like operate to the most profitable ability that they can, they're probably going to go somewhere along the lines of kind of working with the United States government in some form. And it may not be obvious. It may not be released for like 10 years after they end up agreeing to it. But like if Amazon ends up getting paid by the US government a crazy amount of money to basically work hand in hand with them. It would not be surprising if the US government does the same thing with Binance, but end up having like a more hands-on approach with Binance because it's crypto, so that they could really track down, okay, where is this money going? Who is spending this money? Is there any money laundering happening? If there is money laundering, can we track it? Can we track these criminals? Can we track everyone that's doing anything on here, right? Can we track people to get their taxes if they're living, offshore? All that kind of stuff, right? I could see the government going really hard into Binance, but like under the covers, right? Like be really more like shady in how they do it, not make it too obvious, but basically have a situation where the Binance CEO ends up stepping down, and the person that gets put in place is someone that was probably like maybe like a former CIA agent or a former FBI agent or former federal agent of some sort, right? And that would be kind of scary to see, honestly, because it kind of goes to show you like, okay, it's going to get to the point where basically you're going to have someone in the government basically working in almost every single tech space or tech company out there that's like massive, right? So if you see like some former federal employee of like high rank going into any of these companies, you got to start wondering like, okay, what's the real story here? Are they now working with the government in some form? Are they kind of like basically scratching each other's butts? Like what's going on, right? Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with a company working with a government, but there ends up becoming like a line that's going to get crossed where it's like, okay, is this company going to end up becoming a monopoly due to the assistance of a government? Or is this government going to restrict the powers of this said company, right? Feel free to give your thoughts by contacting us at 40inbox.com as to what you think, right? But the way I see it, let's say that if I were to like own Binance or something like that, right? Like if I were to own a company that's like super massive like them, right? I would do everything in my power to be 100% independent, kind of like the guy that has the golden nugget, I believe, where he's completely private to where no one can really tell him what to do, right? Like if you're making so much money and you don't have like any like shareholders or anything like that, right? And you basically have complete control over your operations, that's probably the way that I would lean towards, instead of being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to step down because, I don't want to face like regulatory pressure or something like that, right? Or I don't want like my stockholders or my shareholders to be like worried about stuff, or like my shareholders are basically wanting my job, something like that, right? So that's another way to really think about it, because I think the problem with Binance is that there's a lot of influences that are going to basically dictate whether or not he's actually going to step down or not, because it's probably in a situation where he actually doesn't have that much power, depending on how he structured his company, or basically, how he became the CEO, right? And so if you got really no power, it doesn't really matter what you end up doing for the company. If you got no power, if you got no say, you're basically just going to get kicked to the curb. So always try to be set up your life in like a way where you are so financially independent, or just independent in general, that you never really have to care about any of these pressures, right? Now, if you need help with mastering your money, go check out 40inbox.com.